Hey guys, what's going on? It is Philmington. Happy New Year to you guys, and better late than never. I wanted to make a video showing off the best current cards in my PC inventory collection, whatever you want to call it. I've been inspired by others on YouTube that have created similar videos. Silver Jackify is the first guy I saw do it, and you know what? Perfect timing because I don't remember the last time I've showed off cards on my channel. I've kind of turned it into a critical thinking, collaboration type of a channel, between my rookie card explosion box release volume lineups, and I want to show off some cards. So some of the stuff you guys wouldn't have seen before. Even with Instagram, which is the primary outlet I've been using to broadcast a lot of my recent pickups, I haven't shown off a lot of these cards on there either. So should be quite interesting. I'll run through what I perceive to be the current market value as well as what I paid, how long I've held the card. I would go into depth on each with my rationale with why I picked it up and how long I want to hold it for, but I don't want to make this video too much longer than 20 minutes. So let's get started. So what you're going to notice is I've actually deviated away from baseball quite a bit. Of my top 40 cards, only 17 are baseball now, which is a huge difference from 2019. So I've made a concerted effort to kind of diversify, get exposure to other sports, get exposure to less risky individuals, Hall of Fame bound individuals like Tom Brady. And this is part of one of my 7 football cards I'll be showing. I've got 11 of the top 40 are basketball, 1 is hockey, and 4 are Pokemon. All right, so this is obviously not his most coveted rookie card, but it's tough to find a rookie card in a PSA 10 to Tom Brady for under $1,000. This is one that I picked up for about $706. It is up around 31% to around $925. There are some comps that are more than that, but I think $925 is a pretty reasonable valuation. And if you know me, if you've watched my channel, you understand that there's a decent amount of rationale that goes into how I appraise cards. Hopefully there's some level of trust there. But eBay is the primary source that I used. Could be an average of the past 3, could be the last one, could be based on a variant of that card, a base version, maybe applied a multiplier if there weren't any sales on that exact card. So yeah, that's Tom Brady. Here's another Tom Brady at 39. Okay, this is 2000 Upper Deck. Tough grade, true gem, BGS 9.5. This one I picked up for $813. It is right now around, with these subgrades, around $950, up about 17%. And both those cards I've held for less than 12 months. So something that's pretty crazy, all of these 40 cards that I'm going to be showing, none of them have I held for longer than 18 months, which is a trend that I plan on changing. You'll notice when we get lower on the list of the higher value cards, that a lot of those cards I've held a bit longer than 12 months. But there are only, of the 40 cards, only 7 have been held for longer than 12 months. And the average is actually around 7 to 8 months. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I love to flip. You know that I like to take advantage of short-term swings in prices. And I've still done that quite a bit this year. But I've also done, my strategies change quite a bit. And I'll talk about that later with regards to when I'll sell a card versus, maybe this is something that still has a lot of room to grow and it's something I want to keep in my portfolio, if you will. So SGC 9, Ichiro held this one for so far under 12 months. It's up from where I paid $373 to around $1,000 now. So it's 168% return. Next up, another Brady. So not the best subgrades, not the best overall grade, but see that 9.5 centering? This is one where I kind of bought the card over the grade. Nobody really nobody really tries too hard to assemble a bunch of BGS 8s and overpays for BGS 8s. It's not really a thing, it never will be. But to find this card in really nice centering, that was kind of what I was going for at the time. So this is one that I picked up for about $900, maybe overpaid at the time, but it's up. I think to get this card with these subgrades, you'd have to pay over $1,000 actually, around $1,100 now, up about 22%. Held that one for under 12 months. Next up, we've got Jason Tatum, okay? I love when these prism colors match the jersey, and apparently so does everybody else. When in baseball, at the most, if you get like a Bowman Chrome color that matches the color shirt, like a blue refractor with a Blue Jay he was drafted as a Blue Jay. Maybe he's currently a Blue Jay or a Dodger or a Cub. You're not really going to see a premium of any more than like 25% by getting that match. But with these green prisms, it's literally like a 200% premium. It's like a 3x multiplier, and they sell for the same as silvers, basically, as a result of that. So this one, I picked it up not long ago. Within the last, I think, 2 or 3 months, $728, and it's up around $1,100 now. Next up, next basketball card, you're going to see a theme of Topps Chrome Refractor LeBrons. You know, in most cases, I go after and pursue the rookie cards, and I would suggest others do the same. But in a lot of cases, I think there's value in other cards, and I love these Topps Chrome Refractors. This is actually what a lot of people consider to be one of their favorite non-rookie year LeBron cards, with the pose, emblematic, throwing up the chalk, what he does with his pregame ritual. And this is the refractor, of course, BGS9. Picked this up over the last couple of weeks. So I'm not giving myself, there's really no value gain. This is the last comp. And at card number 34, this is worth about $1,190. Next up is the first Pokemon card we're going to show. Now, this, it's not first edition base, but it's what a lot of people would consider the second most desirable WotC set, original WotC set from '99. This is the first edition. You got the stamp here, Jungle, Mr. Mime, and it is a PSA 10. These hollows have pretty low pops for Jungle. PSA 10s, the pop around here, the pop for this one's around around 100. And this one I paid $836, and it's worth about $1,120 now. So, next up, another Tom Brady. This is the 2000 Flair Mystique. I think they made like, 1,000, 2,000 of these. I forget that there's not actually numbering on it, but college uniform here, BGS 9.5, and this is something that I paid $902 for. It's up to around $1,250 now, so about 39% bump in under 12 months. And to round out the list of between 31 to 40, this is card number 31. This is the 2005 Topps Chrome Refractor. This one's actually numbered to 999. The last refractor I showed you was not numbered, and this one's down a bit. So 1762 is what I paid, and the last comps were right around like 1250. So this is down about 29%. And this one I've held for less than 6 months. A lot of this with LeBron, I acknowledge I didn't time the market correctly. You could also argue that, well, I don't know the basketball market as well as baseball, so I'm more likely to make mistakes, which is definitely true for everybody. For those of you that deviate away from what you know the most to a sport that everybody says is the best and it's got the highest ROI, yeah, of course it does. And it performed really well for almost everybody, if not everybody, in 2020. Basketball did, but you still have to do your research. It's just like any other asset class, alt asset, conventional instrument. You have to really understand it to protect yourself and not lose your shirt in it. But with LeBron, the motivation was more than just timing the market. I still think there's quite a solid investment thesis for a lot of his cards to continue to appreciate. With regards to where they're valued at now versus other modern basketball players and other basketball players. And I wanted the exposure to basketball. I wanted the exposure to other GOAT-like players. And that's one of the reasons why I started to venture away from baseball. Okay, so this one is actually, card 30 is a Juan Soto Topps Update Gold, number 2018. BGS 9.5 with really, really strong subgrades, 210s, 9 centering on a borderless card, which isn't that bad. And then there's a 9.5 subgrade being the other one. I cracked that, sent it to PSA, figured whatever, we'll give it a shot, see what we can get. Worst comes to worst, I'll send it back to Beckett. Of course, time is my enemy because it's going to take a hell of a long time to be able to get those back. But we'll see. So that Juan Soto, I've got that valued at around, I don't know. Raw, it's not worth $1,300, but based on the condition, I put it at $1,300. I paid $700 for it. 86% increase there. Holding period under 12 months. Next up, so one of the things I did this year, because I got away from baseball, my overall allocation to Bowman Chrome autographs dropped a bunch. Heading into 2020, I had about a 50% allocation of Bowman Chrome, and now I'm way below that because I've gotten away from the unprovens. A lot of the Bowman Chrome prospect autographs I had were younger players. Of course, we've got one coming up that's not quite as unproven, which I know you guys will love to see when we get to one of the final cards on the list. But it was something that I kind of planned to do, was get away from the brand. And I actually focused a lot more on Topps flagship parallels this year versus Bowman Chrome, but I didn't sell everything. And this is one of the ones I still have. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a rebound from him in 2021. See how those knees turn up. We'll see if he turns into a career DH type. We'll see if he gets overshadowed by other guys that can do similar stuff. He is kind of one-dimensional, although he does walk a lot, and he's got a really good eye, and he's a really good hitter, not just a great power hitter. And this is one that I paid $1,911 for. It's down to about $1,300 now, given what's happened to him since the purchase, which was about 12 or 13 months ago. So this is down about 32%. Next up is number 28. LeBron James. Had to pick up one of his rookie cards. This is one that I was like, oh yeah, I gotta I prioritize the card more than the grade itself. And also, to be fair, at the time, 9.5 SGCs were selling a lot better than they are now. I think we were going through a price discovery phase. So this has come down a little bit. Now these are selling for close to PSA 9s and well below BGS 9.5s. Maybe that's closer to where they should be versus where they were when they came out, and they were like selling for the same as like, not when they came out, but when SGC had their big coming out party for Modern this year, you saw SGC 9.5 sell for the same, in some cases more than True Gems BGS wise. So take that for what you will, but this has got better centering than a lot of PSA 9s, and the edges and corners are really strong. I'm just happy to own this card, and I'll deal with the short-term market fluctuations there. Hopefully we get something favorable in the long term on that card. That is something I paid $1,550 for. It's down to about $1,350 now, and really no recent comps, but that's a loss of about 13% at this point, holding period under 6 months. Card number 27, Fernando Tatis. Okay, this is an appropriately graded, what I would call it, a PSA 10 gold. Nice card. I picked it up for $1,000. That was within the last 6 months. It's up to about $1,400 now. Maybe that rises a little bit before the season. I don't see how it couldn't. I'm seeing pressure all around it from the Bichette gold that's underneath it, from the Soto gold that's above it. So I definitely see that being a $1,700, $1,800 card in the matter of a couple months. And yeah, that's one that I'm up 39.5% on, and I've held for less than 6 months. Next up, a card that's also down a little bit, number 26 on the list. This is the 2011 Finest Refractor, number 549. Picked it up raw at a show, really like 12 or 13 months ago, and that was $400. Now worth about $1,400, so we're up about 250%. Next up is a card that's fallen a little bit, kind of the theme with some of these LeBrons. BGS 9.5, tough to find these subgrades, especially the 10 centering. You know, you could argue that maybe you crack this out now, maybe it doesn't get a 9.5 corner if you were to resub it, but those of you that know LeBron, those of you that know this card know that, you know, the centering, 10 centering doesn't really come around often on this. So happy to own this, but this is one that's fallen about 26%, paid 2030s down to about $1,500. Next up, SGC 9. This is a lot of people's favorite card, the red jersey, 175 2011 Bowman Chrome Refractor. And this is number 24 on the list, and one that I've held for less than 12 months. I paid $482. It was probably selling for around like $2,000 at one point. I was getting some offers consistently at $2,000. Now it's down to about $1,500. Okay, you got PSA 9s that are selling for like $1,600, $1,700. The PSA 10 is out of a lot of people's budgets right now. This one's up 211%. Held it for less than 12 months. All right, number 23 on the list is 2017 Topps Update Black US 50 Swinging, card that hasn't sold a lot. Couldn't find any comps for it. I'm sure it's down. I I bought it for $1,554. Current valuation $1,500. That's where I got it, but maybe it's a little bit less than that. Had a bad year. If you look at the full body of work, you got to look at that, especially for baseball, beyond what he did in the playoffs with some of his clutch home runs. You know, he had a down year, so he's still got an MVP under his belt. Let's see what he can do this coming year. I'm not sure what to think about him. He's got a long swing and one that requires him to expend a lot of energy. Some professional analysts think that he might have to change his approach if he wants to sustain long-term durability with his health. Plus, his swing in itself is very prone to slumps and strikeouts. Leverage is one thing, but he doesn't have a whole lot of strength in his frame, which is one of the reasons why I think he needs to generate that much torque in order to be effective at a young age. All right, next up is number 22, Mike Trout, 2011 Topps Update Gold. Don't have anything to show here. Beautiful card, one that I picked up raw. Didn't like the grade I got from BGS. Got 3 9.5 subgrades and I think a 7 on the corners. I could argue that they could have placed that in the surface. It had a little bit of a crease on the corner, and I cracked that out. I sent it to PSA, hoping for something better. You know, wishful thinking. PSA would usually be a little bit more strict on that type of issue, but we'll see. I mean, overall, the card will stand up to any PSA 9 I've seen. If you look at it from from like 6 inches away, it's just a really beautiful looking card. I've owned a BGS 9.5, which wasn't as nice, in my opinion, as this BGS 7.5 crack out. So we'll see what we get there. That I picked up for $1,300. I'm valuing it around $1,600. I don't know. You know, depends where it comes back. It could fluctuate hugely, but 23% gain. I've owned that for less than 12 months, just like the Bellinger. All right, card 21. Before we get into the top 20, this is the Red Prism. You know, I've kind of, to be safe, I've stayed away from a lot of the non-numbered stuff with basketball, aside from the LeBron stuff I showed you already. But with some of these modern, unproven players, there's already a lot of risk that's attached to the player itself. So I'm like, you know what? I like these red prisms. They don't sell for that much more than the silvers. And the silvers have exploded in print runs and pops, somewhat proportionate to the explosion of prism print runs year over year. So I figured, you know, kind of cap the downside risk a little bit, pick up the reds for like 50% more than what the prisms sell for. And the pops are so much lower. And I've already gotten offers of around $1,750 on this. I picked up for $1,500 a couple weeks ago. So that's a 17% gain. So gives me something to watch. It's hard for me to completely kick the speculation aspect out of my game completely. I just have so much fun doing it. So I'm always going to be taking gambles on some guys. But as you can see, I've eliminated, or at least minimized, a lot of my risk by picking up some of these more established players. Speaking of established, this guy won't tear an ACL. Hey, Blastoise, number 20. First edition base, PSA 6. This is a card I picked up very recently, within the last 6 months. Picked it up for $1,100. It's worth about $1,750 today. That's a gain of 59%. This is the character that most people go after, I'd say, most after Charizard. So second most popular character in that first edition base set for most people. All right. Well, you could say Pikachu, I guess, but with regard to the holo, he's the second most popular. All right, so next up is going to be this 2015-16 Upper Deck Young Guns. Got some help from those back pages. He pointed me to this card. I try not to go over too much of my rationale as I make this video super long if I talk about the purchase aspect. But yeah, I want to pick up a bunch of these, and I was able to pick up one. And all the other ones were the victims of shill bidding, so which helped the short-term market valuations of the price. They came back down a little bit, and then they went back up. And this one's up from $638, what I paid, to about $1,750. That's a gain of 174%, and that's in under 12 months. So don't know a whole lot about that guy. I've been told by people that know more than I that he's like a Juan Soto equivalent of hockey. Just like an up-and-comer that could be a very good player down the line. I'm sure he's also very good already. Next up, number 18, LeBron James, 06-07, Topps Chrome Refractor. This one's not numbered, PSA 9. Paid about $1,500 for this. It's up to about $1,850 now. Gain of 23% over 6 months. Next up, We got the second year, could be kind of undervalued right now. The pops on these, the print runs on the PSA 9s and PSA 10s are a fraction of the equivalent rookie card. Like I'm talking 30%. It's pretty crazy. So this one's not numbered, but just pretty sweet looking card. And I don't know, I just really like it. I think that the PSA 10 rookie card refractor going for like 94K, that's going to cause pricing pressure it already has. And the PSA 9 rookie card refractor, which you can't get for 20,000 anymore. And the second year cards are going to move up to their current levels, I think. Having said that, paid 2,312. It's worth about 1950 now. 1950 down about 16%. Could be some upside there. And I could spend another 5 minutes talking about why in more detail. But next up, yeah, Josh Allen's had an awesome year. You know, he started out real hot. He had there were a few weeks consecutively where the Bills struggled a little bit on offense, and now he's killing it again, doing it against my Patriots. So don't have a whole lot of motivation to root for this guy. And to be honest, this is one that I might have to list soon. You know that I like to take advantage of short-term market swings, especially when I don't need to own the player or the card, or I think that there's a great chance that I could find it later at lower prices. Usually I'll take advantage of selling opportunities. So it's just a matter of time before I list this, but it is beautiful. Just a beautiful card, these Kaboom inserts. It's my first Kaboom. By the time I picked this up, these were selling for less than double what his Prism base rookie card on PSA 10 was selling for, which is crazy because this has got a pop of like 15. It's just really hard to grade. And it's not the same as like the numbered Kabooms. And I'm sure they made a lot of these more than people think, but still, I mean, come on, it was a no-brainer. And hard to value this one, but based on got to keep on showing this. Based on the price appreciation of the raws, there was a raw that recently sold for about $800. I think a conservative estimate for this value would be $2,000. So it's a holding period of under 6 months. That's a 94% gain. Next up, another LeBron James Topps Chrome Refractor. This one numbered to 199, the same year as the Kevin Durant. Oh man, some Kevin Durant versions of this card are selling for like, it's insane, like more than a down payment on a house right now. But this one I picked up for $1,910, and it's worth about $2,150 today, up about 12.5%. I've held it for under 6 months. Sorry, guys. Next up, card number 14. Mike Trout, 2010, Bowman Platinum. Beautiful card. One that you don't usually see a lot with the 10 autograph and a gem mint overall grade. So it's got a 9 corner subgrade. It deserved it. One of the corners is pretty botched up, but beautiful card. Love this card. Still think it's a little bit undervalued, to be honest, especially in this condition. And this is one that I've owned for a little bit under 12 months. It was up and then it's back down from $1,881 is what I paid up to $2,200 now, 17% return in under 12 months. Next up is another one that saw some previous highs above 3K. Now it's down to about 2,500. And this is number 13 on the list. This is the card that I've held the longest out of all 40 cards, okay? So again, of the 40 cards that I'm showing, I have held none of them for more than 18 months. Only 7 have I held for longer than 12 months. The average holding period is around 7 to 8 months. This is all stuff I kind of want to change. And I'll talk about that a little bit when I get lower on the list. I know I've said that already, but this card, it was neck and neck with the US 175 2011 update Trout, and it's come down a bit. And I think the update has passed it, as we've seen some comps on the update card to probably stretch across 3,000 again. But this one, pop is a lot lower, print run's a lot lower. I don't know what the long-term winner is going to be. I could see it being either of them. But this one, again, is worth about $2,500 now. I paid $605, up 314% over the last 17 months. Next up, a card that I picked up pretty low, at a low point for Acuna. He was dealing with injuries throughout the season in 2020, and everybody who was buying, it seemed to be like, Bichette, Machado, eventually Freddie Freeman, of course Tatis, of course Soto. Not a lot of attention was on Acuna, and I was able to pick this up for pretty cheap, what I thought was pretty cheap, about $1,929, and that's what you see PSA 10s almost going for today. They're up back at around $1,700 in a PSA 10. So this is a card that not a lot of recent comps, but based on my multiplier, derived from that PSA 10, which you see a lot more recent comps of, this is going to be worth around $3,000 now. And this is not a BGS 10 that was given this grade that didn't deserve it. This is a nice looking BGS 10, I think. So about $3K, a gain of 56% in under 6 months. Next up, card I think is kind of undervalued, but I don't know basketball, so I might be wrong. 2003 Topps first edition, LeBron James first edition stamp. PSA 9 pop on this is so much lower than the non-first edition, but the card's not any different. So a lot of people might think like, well, that's dumb. Why would I pay more just for that stupid stamp? I don't know. Maybe people won't pay more. Maybe it is stupid, but paid about $29.64. It's up to about $3,100 now, and that is a gain of about 5% in under 6 months. This one didn't do so well on this yet, but this is me betting on not just football becoming more popular in America and football cards becoming more popular in America, but it's a bet on the continued dominance of Panini Prism. This is the inaugural set from 2012. They didn't print a whole lot. Silvers, they didn't print a whole lot of those either. And this is one I kind of picked up at a high point, okay? I picked it up, and he was like one of the front runners to win MVP. And football as a whole was still kind of running on all the attention it got in the preseason from the ramp up and prices across the board. Is a lot of you guys that collect football, they all went down, like basically almost every player, maybe not Aaron Rodgers, but basically every other player. And this is one that I paid $4,500 for. It's down to about $3,200 now. There's been some comps, $3,500, $3,200. $3,200 is probably a better estimate, because there's been raw versions of this card that have sold for a lot cheaper than a PSA 9. So this is down about 29.5%. It's holding period 6 months. I'm not sweating over that. Again, because that momentum, I knew exactly what I was doing when I looked at that card, when I saw how much it had increased already over the previous 4 or 5 months. Okay, Russell Wilson's undervalued, and then people realize that, but also Panini as a brand, the 2012 that set across all sports, not just football, but of course basketball and even baseball, they really exploded. So I paid so much more than what you could have gotten it for 12 months prior to that, but did that for a reason, just because I think there's more opportunity there. Patrick Mahomes, this is card number 9. All right, we've got 2017 Donruss Optic Hollow. This has a pop, and what most people would presume a print run to be a lot lower than the Prism Silver. People like the Prism. It's never going to overtake the Prism. The card itself, the photography on the Prism is even better, and I understand that, but I think this card could go up alongside it, okay? I paid $3,000. It's worth about $37.50 today. I picked it up about a month ago. I picked it up right before the Vegas odds changed to make him a significant favorite to win the MVP. Now with football card values, it's more about the Super Bowl. It's more about the Super Bowl MVP than the regular season MVP. I get that, but still, I just couldn't sneeze at the fact at the ability to pick him up when this card was already around the $4,000 range a little bit earlier in the year. I don't see a whole lot of downside to this card, barring injury, and that's a big risk, of course, with any player, especially a football player. This is up 25%, holding period under 3 months. Next up, I had 3 of these cards, showed them off in a video where I talked about buying cards of players that were on steroids. And my initial plan was to hold this till, 2024. That's 2 years after his last year on the ballot, where he would be subject to a vote potentially by the New Era Committee, what a lot of people call the Veterans Committee. And I think that's his next best chance to get in. I don't know if he will get in. And you know what? It might not matter. Some players were transcendent. They were so good Look at Pete Rose, that it doesn't matter where they end up. And now we're all obsessed about statistics. Baseball is all about WAR. Yeah, you look at those like long-term like leaderboards, career WAR statistics, and Bonds was ridiculous. So despite him being widely hated across the sport, you know, I know he was loved in his pocket within San Francisco, but I think that there's room for this card to move. I did sell 2 of them because I hit my my target return was like to double my money, and I did that within like a month or 2 with those cards. So I sold 2 of them. I kept the one of the best centering. This one I paid on average for the 3, I think $18.60. This is worth $4,300 now, holding period under 12 months. That's 131% return. Next up, this one is, let's see, number 7. This is the 2016 Bowman Chrome autograph of Juan Soto, just the base, okay? This is one, I used to have 2 of these. I sold one, probably should have kept it, you know, but the amount of regrets that we have, I mean, you just got to move on, which is something I've done pretty good at doing. And at least I still have this one, okay? This is something that I've held for 13 months now. I paid $13.35. It's up. Well, I have $4,500 when I did these calcs earlier this week, but I think it's above $5,000 now. And I think that because there was a PSA 9 refractor that went for $5K. But based on $4,500, it's up 237%. All of Juan Soto cards are kind of rising right now, which is why I think like that PSA 9 refractor comp wasn't a fluke. So, but it's up at least 237% in 13 months. Love this card. Might not ever sell it. You can say what you want about the picture, the pose. You might not like it. It doesn't look like him. He looks like kind of a jerk in this picture, but this is a card that collectors and investors will never forget about, especially given the limited amount of rookie cards and desirable prospect cards that he has. He doesn't have a non-autograph. Next up is going to be number 6. Speaking of Juan Soto, oh, beautiful card. It's a sticker auto, but who cares? It's numbered to 25. He doesn't have any other autographs from the Topps Chrome set. In 2018, his rookie year, and oh man, this is the perfect pose. And this card is not a true gem, but it's the next best thing. 3 10s and a 9. This is another one that I appraised recently, but it was like 4 or 5 days ago, so maybe this has gone up. And this is a tough one this is a really tough one to appraise. So I have it at 5,500, which would be up 178%. Holding period under 12 months. I paid $19.75, but it's probably worth more than 5,500 now, I'm thinking. Next up is another Juan Soto. Look at this one. A lot of you guys have seen this from Instagram as well as the last one. This is the 2018 Topps Update Black. True gem, okay? There's a guy on Instagram that owns 7 of these. He has 7 of these cards. They only make 67. So these don't come up a lot. There was a recent sale of a BGS 9, and I think the guy got a steal on it. But when you get to those higher echelon grades like the True Gem, like a PSA 10, you see a pretty significant multiplier with these black parallels just because they're just so tough, especially with the full black black on all 4 corners. These cards don't grade well at all. Forget about the specific pop with the True Gem. I think there might be like 4 of them at least. There might actually be BGS 10, which is pretty crazy too. But this comes in at number 5 on the list. Paid $6,000. Bought it from my friend Amit. And my primary motivation behind buying this card was to own it because I love it and I love black parallels, as you guys know that watch my channel. My second motivation was Amit had got the better end of a trade that we made earlier in the year, and it involved a player named Cody Bellinger. So there was like this adjective in this group chat, like, well, I Bellingered Phil. But ever since I bought this card, a month later, it appreciated with the Topps Update base. So the base went up, this goes up, the gold goes up, everything goes up. And I paid $6,000, and it's worth probably somewhere between 12 to 15 now. We'll say 13,500. Give myself 125% return. Holding period under 6 months. Now we're getting to the top 4, and maybe I should have made room on this list for my wax. I've got a pretty big wax collection, but this is number 4, 2003 Topps Finest, one that I just picked up over the last week. Got shipped really fast. Beautiful card, tough to grade, Pop 39. The pop and print run of this card versus the Topps Chrome Refractor, it's not even close. They made a lot of the Topps Chrome Refractors, and they only made $9.99 of these, and these grade a little bit tougher, I think. Although the Topps Chrome Refractors do have centering issues. But, I understand it's never going to be as popular as Topps Chrome. Everybody likes Topps Chrome. I get it. Everybody loves that card. I get it. But for the Topps Chrome Refractor and a PSA 10 to sell for like $94K, should that really be 5 times more valuable than this, or should it be more like 3 or 4 times? I guess we'll see. We'll see. But this is a card that's becoming a lot more popular. Unlike a lot of LeBron stuff over the last 5-6 months, for the finest and the finest refractor have gone up in value for LeBron. So that's a card I paid $17,700 for. 0% return at this point. We just bought it. And next up, we got another Pokemon card on the list. This is number 3. This is the Venusaur. This is one of the original Pokemon that you can start with in its most evolved state, from Bulbasaur to Ivysaur to Venusaur. If you guys remember the Pokemon game, you could start with Bulbasaur, but but this has actually got the thick stamp. You can tell because that number 1's going to be a little bit larger than the number 1 on the other first edition cards with that stamp that I showed earlier. So to some it might be worth a little bit more, but look how beautifully centered that is. This is awesome. This is a card that I wouldn't sell, probably, because unless somebody bought it in person that truly appreciated and would pay a premium for the quality of the PSA 10 itself. Got the new flip, of course, too, which helps. But this is one that's right around $22,000 now. I paid $27.50, so it's up 700%. That's in 14 months. It's up 700%. So going into, earlier in the video, I gave a prelude or an introduction to like how I would talk about it later, my approach to holding cards for longer. Basically, what I think is it didn't start till this year where I first began to consider cards as investments in a way, quasi-investments. And when you manage an investment portfolio, it's not just about the realized gains and losses from flipping cards and making profit. Of course, realized gains, for those of you that don't understand the accounting terminology, you get a realized gain when you sell something that went up in value. A realized gain becomes real. That's why it's called realized, because the money is real after you sell the card. It's called a paper gain or an unrealized gain if you're holding a card that went up in value, and it's not really real. I think with investments, it's more about the total return. It's more about unrealized gains and losses as well. And the reason for that is because when you sell a bunch of cards that are in your inventory, PC, whatever you want to call it, it's cool to make that money, but what do you have left? What do you have left in your inventory? Are you proud of that? Are those the highest performing cards in the future? Because you should ultimately want to be keeping the ones that'll increase the most from here on out. So you could triple your money in a week, which doesn't happen a lot, or double your money in a month, which is really good, or 5x your money in a year, which is awesome. And it's great to take advantage of that. But if those cards you think have higher likelihood of giving you an above average return in the future versus some of the other cards that you own, maybe it makes sense to hold on to those cards. And this is one of them. And, I had a chance to get rid of this at a pretty nice level, but I thought that, I like how my portfolio is pretty, or whatever you want to call it, PC is pretty top heavy. I like this card. I think it's only going to be more valuable in time. Charizard from the iconic 99 first edition base set. This is the holographic. This is the one you want. This is the PSA 9 version. This is the one where the PSA 10s have sold for in excess of $200,000 to $300,000, approaching $400,000 over the last few months. And this is one where I thought that it has some upside. So I think that, I had a chance to get rid of this at a really nice level. And I was like, well, if I sell it now, I probably won't be able to rebuy it. And this is a card that I think in 2, 3, 5, 10 years time is going to be a lot more expensive than it is now. I think the PSA 10s are going to eventually sell for $1 million, and I think this will be dragged up with it. The multipliers of the past will never be the ones of the future. I'm sure, you know, and you see that across Jordan, the PSA 10 to PSA 9 multiplier, it gets out of whack, and it doesn't really revert back to like the old levels, like 6 to 7x. It might become like 9x or 12x, who knows, in the future, and largely driven by institutional demand and these funds that are just buying up these cards. But it's also one of the reasons why I want to keep my portfolio a little top heavy, PC inventory, whatever you want to call it, because who knows, maybe some institutional fund, maybe some money will pry that away from me at some point. Paid $5,500 for this 14 months ago to now worth $35,000, up 536%. In this one, oh man, beautiful card. Beautiful card. I bought this. I had the base in a PSA 9. My plan was to flip this, but I just saw how much better it looked, and I was like, I gotta keep this. This is awesome. Wow. So this is one that I picked up for $16,000 14 months ago, and it is up around, tough to find comps. I've seen base, I've seen refractors, I've seen X-fractors of the PSA 10, all around the same. But I'm going to say about $50,000. About $50,000 for this. That's a return of 209% in 14 months. And this card is sweet. So, you know, to add a little bit to what I was talking about earlier, and I just got to keep on showing it. Why would I take this away? In behavioral finance, there's a bias. It's called the disposition effect. It's where investors will hold on to losers for too long and sell winners too early. And that is exactly what I'm trying to avoid, that bias, because I want to hold the best stuff. Warren Buffett would say, if you were to ask him, when do you sell good stocks? He would say, you shouldn't want to sell good stocks. You should want to hold them because they're good stocks. So awesome card. So it's not to say that I didn't prioritize flipping a little bit and making some realized gains this year, but I try to look into that whole the whole equation. I did have a pretty good flipping year this year with baseball, with basketball. I don't think I sold any football cards. All right, so that is it, guys. Total 40 cards, 17 baseball, 7 football, 11 basketball, 1 hockey, 4 Pokemon. That's what made up my top 40. And so the total cost of those cards was $97,967. Market value today, $207,185. So why don't I have the percentage for this? This is up. Well, let me drag this down. That's a change of 111%. And these cards had an average holding period of 7 to 8 months. On the high side, it was 17 months was the longest I had held any of those cards, but the average was around 7 to 8 months. That's a little bit of a skewed narrative because a lot of those top performers that you saw at the end actually were held for longer than that average, so around 14 months. So if I did a weighted average, it'd be different. 7 to 8 months average holding period doesn't tell the full story with that 111% gain. All right, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you liked what you saw. Let me know what you thought. Too much information, not enough. You know, I don't know. I'm curious. Have a good New Year, guys. Take care. Bye. Philmington out.